Welcome along to the Keith Andrews Show with you on Thursday. After last week, unfortunately, we couldn't make Thursday because Eoin was in London. Jet-setting lifestyle that he has, flown over, private jet via Michael O'Leary.
Yes.
Straight into London, put up in a 5-star hotel and went to the FIFA 19
Ratings Awards. Just sorry to interject there because I know you were about to finish the sentence.
So tell me about the FIFA 19 Ratings Awards on.
And it's a very glitzy and glamorous event because I wouldn't go unless it was anything other. And it was just, you know, an opportunity for the world's media to come and, first of all, see the revelation that is the Ratings Awards. So they were going to announce the most skillful player, the strongest player, the fastest player, all that sort of stuff. And then you had opportunities to chat to players such as David Meyler, who is, of course, a massive celebrity in those circles. And when
before we get on to David Meyler, because I want to chat about this and I want you to explain to me. I know he is a massive interest in this. I know he has a big following in it. But out of all the people in this building, sports-related, what gives you the credentials to be going over? Are you the gaming nut in this place? If I said to you, Kerry Mafia 08, would that ring any bells to you?
Kerry Mafia 08?
Why are you looking over that way?
What the hell?
Kerry Mafia 08.
What the hell does that mean?
So, did you not finish top 10 in the world?
What does that have to do with Kerry Mafia? Oh, my best gaming achievement ever was in London 2012, that video game, not in the actual London 2012
Wasn't Beijing 08?
Or was it Beijing? No, was it? Oh, sorry, you're right, it was Beijing 08.
My research is spot on.
It was Beijing 08, sorry, where I was like in the top 10 or 15 in the world at like overall points. So I was very versatile. Like nobody would beat me at the 100 meters. Nobody would beat me at the long jump. Nobody would beat me in archery.
Really?
And certainly nobody would beat me in the diving, certainly on the 3-meter platform diving. Okay. So, you know, I was in the top 10, 15 in the world for a time and I got addicted to that game. So, yes, I am the off-the-ball gaming expert. Thank you very much for giving me
to clarify, that was all. So go on, sorry to interrupt and bring that up, but I think you're glad I did.
Yeah, I am actually.
Tell me about David Meyler, because I am not a gamer. I haven't been into it in God knows how long, since the Commodore 64. No, probably not that long, but PlayStation time, early days. But I was never really that into it as much as other players would have been on when it got onto the bus and started playing it, bringing it into hotels and wiring it up to modems in hotels where we travelled to. The Irish lads used to be big. Liam Lawrence was big into. Actually, we seen him in his gaming room, didn't we?
Yeah.
He used to be massive into it. But Meyler's huge, isn't he?
Huge into it. He's a very well watched FIFA celebrity, I think, at this point. He's a YouTuber, 320,000 subscribers on YouTube. Just looked at his most recent video, like 111,000 views. He's got a huge audience. He is, as I said there, a huge celebrity in those circles. Everybody at this event knew him. Like he was kind of viewed in the sort of same era as Kevin De Bruyne was viewed in that specific circle at the FIFA. Seriously, yeah. And like I guess you go through the night and the classic question is, what's your rating like? Stuff like that. We're in a video game.
Yeah, I was in a video game.
Did you ever play with yourself?
No, because I was crap.
On FIFA.
Oh my God, what was that going on the screen?
Look at this, FIFA 2010, Keith Andrews with an overall rating of 71. Your pace was 68, shooting
What's 71?
65.
71 good or bad?
It's pretty good. It's silver medal. This is FIFA 11, then you go up to a 73. Your pace dipping a small bit, I think.
That just comes with age. That just comes with age.
Then here's a 74. Your pace the next year plummets to 54.
That's nonsense.
Which is a bit of a shame. And then Stephen Hunt, who we've got later on in the show, also 74 in FIFA 2012, but his pace was 77. Would you say he was 23 points better than you, faster than you, in 2012?
Hunty was sharper, but he was pacier, definitely. But is 23 a lot?
But like it's a quarter. The max is 100, so that's a quarter.
Not a chance.
He was 25% better than you.
Not better.
Oh, sorry,
quicker.
25% quicker.
Whoa.
I would say you were actually 25% technically better than him because you had the same rating. Despite
he's going to be on the phone in a while, so you can say that to him.
Well, no, you can put the point to him that you just made about.
He wasn't 25%, 23% quicker than me. Not a chance.
Well, we'll see what he has to say.
I used to just get the arm across him anyway, and he wasn't going very far. But what I wanted to get off the back of this whole FIFA gaming, players been ridiculously popular in that aspect, and obviously current players are big into it because there's an era now of younger kids, adolescents, young adults following players rather than football teams.
It's something that's been very much a trend, I think, maybe since the Cristiano Ronaldo transfer this year. When I say trend, a trend in the kind of international media and the way we talk about things. like the first time when I saw that this was actually a thing was the amount of people who unfollowed the Real Madrid Instagram account.
They really just literally like bang, see, good luck, we're going to Juve.
Yeah, there was no statistic to show that Juve had obviously skyrocketed. There was no evidence to show that they were the exact same people.
Yeah.
But certainly there was a huge drop off in the people who were following Real Madrid on Instagram because their favourite player was no longer at that football club. And it seems to be now that, you know, a kid picks up FIFA, they open their packs on Ultimate Team, and they get attached to those individuals who are part of their Ultimate Team rather than playing with one team. So I would say, like, we wouldn't be too accustomed with the whole demographic, but like people who are in school at the moment who go home at the weekend and play FIFA, like they're building up an affinity with football players rather than football teams. Like even like when I was at my peak addiction when it came to playing FIFA back in the day, I would still have an affinity with a team. I would have played with Arsenal or whatever. Or
that's definitely changed now in the last few years, maybe.
Definitely, like
with social media and with how commercialised players are these days.
And you look at what's on the agenda this week, and you look at the commercial value with which Manchester United view Paul Pogba. Well, that's all part of the same discussion. It's not just to do with selling jerseys. It's not just to do with Instagram followers anymore, but it is in a certain way because of the way behaviours have changed and then the behaviours of young people viewing Paul Pogba as their favourite player, more importantly than Manchester United as their favourite football team.
Well, this is a huge issue for Man United. There's no doubt about it. The fact that we've got two massive egos is causing a problem. Jose Mourinho, Paul Pogba, it just seems to be snowballing now, the last few days in particular. But I do think from the club's perspective, Ed Woodward, and you've also got another key player in this, is Pogba's agent, Raiola, who is huge, who is very, very mouthy and shouldn't be. But he's orchestrating some kind of deal, whether it's a new deal or a transfer. He's clearly got the trust of Paul Pogba, and you hear some of his other players coming out and can support in the way he goes about his business. But going back to your point about commercially what he is worth to Manchester United, this is just kind of, it's hard to fathom that that's the way they work, and commercially they have to tick so many boxes with the shareholders, the owners, etc. And Paul Pogba is a huge part of that. The last one that they probably had to that level, I would suggest, was probably Beckham, a global brand. And when he went to Real Madrid, the shirt sales, etc., and that was obviously in a different era. Now it's gone on tenfold. And the way that I don't know what way this is going to go. Like, it's such a tricky issue. The one thing you would have to say is the club is just looking bad, full stop, with the whole way that the manager and one of the marquee players, certainly commercially, it's just the relationship is gone. Yeah,
like it's a weird one to actually think about whose side you're actually backing in this, which horse are you backing, who's going to win. I really think Paul Pogba shot himself in the foot with those late quotes that came out on Sunday evening with regards to the attack comments. Up until that point, and you may disagree with me, I was on Paul Pogba's side. I actually felt a little bit sorry for Paul Pogba, and if that attack thing didn't happen, I would have felt a little bit sorry for him seeing that footage of the training ground the other day where he's a little bit helpless in the whole thing. He's just really frustrated with Jose Mourinho.
I'm going to come back to you on that helpless one, okay? And this isn't me saying I'm on Jose's side either, but I want to bring Stephen Hunt in on this. He's going to join us. I think he's on the line. Stephen, you with us?
How you doing, lads? Owen, Keith, how are you?
Hey, good, buddy. I'm good. We're just discussing... Oh, it's sunny where you are. Where are you?
Birmingham City Centre. I can't put my life on hold for you guys, you know. I have to crack on and do my job.
We appreciate you taking the time. All right, speaking of your job, right? You're advising Paul Pogba at the moment. You're Mina Raiola. What are you saying to him?
Well, just on yesterday's incident alone, I think Paul Pogba's gone into training and got in with a spring in his step. He might know what he's doing. He's playing the game, I'd imagine. Jose, on the other sense, knows there's cameras there, and he's still decided to have a little bit of a confrontation with him. So they really are going head to head. And I don't know, from a manager's point of view, I don't think he has to have that argument in public. Why can't he have a conversation with Pogba behind the scenes? He knows the cameras are there. Let's not be stupid. Of course he knows the cameras are there. So he's brought it. He's making it worse, and they really seem like they're going head to head. Who goes first? Now, is Mourinho looking for the sack, or is Pogba looking to dominate and move on? So only they know, really, if I'm honest with you. And both parties know who's safe and who's not safe. So they're playing the game at the moment.
If you're Pogba's agent, Stephen, do you hope that Jose leaves the building and the club go towards swaying with Pogba, a new style? Because it's not going, take Pogba out of the equation, it's not exactly going to plan at Manchester United at the moment. Or do you try and generate that move maybe to a Barcelona come January? What would be your advice for him?
First of all, it's still in September. It's October, November, December before the window opens. There's a lot of football to be played for Pogba. So if I was him, I'd get his head down, get crack on with training, work hard. If you want to remain just on the basic level of communication levels with Mourinho, then so be it, do that. But just get your head down, work hard for your teammates, and then see what January brings. Because there's still 3 months to go, and yes, for that kind of transfer, it's already been put in place. I understand that, but still, you have to get on with your job. You're getting paid good money, and go and do your thing.
Yeah. Like, I think everything that's been written about agents over the last couple of weeks would suggest to me that this is ideal timing for Mino Raiola. I don't want to suggest that Mino Raiola is actually agitating for this to happen, but the timing of this couldn't be better, because I'm sure you'll have seen it yourself, Stephen, this idea that there might be a worldwide sort of clamping down on agents and the amount of money they're able to make off transfer fees. Well, Mino Raiola looks at that and he thinks to himself, well, potentially next summer I'm not going to be able to make any money or anywhere near as much money as previously I could have done off Paul Pogba. So I've got to get a move for this guy quickly if I want to get one last payday as a mega agent.
Come on, Owen. I don't think he needs the money, let's be honest about it. I think he's
Everybody wants more money.
Yes, and from a business point of view, it's very difficult to say, you can cut off the amount of money you're going to make from the structure of a deal, where it happens all around the world where probably people get paid too much money for certain deals, of course, but that's any business. So it's obviously just in early communication. I can't see it happening, if I'm honest.
Look, I understand what you're saying about the way it's trying to change with the agency rules and how powerful they become, and with Pogba, seemingly it's as if he's got ultimate trust in Raiola, and we've seen this before with agents like Mendes, Georgie Mendes at Wolves, and as the player talking, we'll go where George tends to send us because we have that trust in him. So there's definitely that dynamic. I just look at it and I feel with Pogba, regardless of all these issues, and you were talking before we got Stephen on about where you have a little bit of sympathy for him and maybe you're swaying on his side, and is that because Jose's not getting the best out of him in the style, the system? He's not feeling the love, etc. I think, again, go back 2 weeks and beyond, I think Paul Pogba just needs to look in the mirror and think, I'm capable of being in and around the best players in the world, because we've seen glimpses of it, and I do think they're only glimpses. They come and go. Last week being a prime example. People will say, yeah, but it was only young boys. But he has so much to his game. But the one thing that he doesn't have is a responsibility and a maturity, regardless of the manager on the sideline. He should be the best player for Man United week in, week out. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
No question, yeah.
But he doesn't do it. So all these exterior factors, obviously Mourinho's one, but there is others. It's just constant. And we'll go back to the commercial side of it. Yeah, I understand that. I'd get rid of both of them.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd get rid of both of them.
Do you not think it's worth, if you had the opportunity, to see what Paul Pogba would be like under a different manager? Like under Maurizio Sarri at Chelsea, for example, you look at someone like Eden Hazard, let off the leash entirely, and look how well he's playing.
Yeah.
What would Paul Pogba be like without a leash on, basically?
I think he's been given too many opportunities. I really do, and I can't comprehend this. He's not been played in the right system, style, management. I don't agree with what Mourinho's doing at the moment, but be interested to get Stephen's take. And Stephen, what's your thoughts on Pogba then, in terms of, would he be better if he was in a different manager? For instance, as Zidane, who was seen in London yesterday. I'm sure that was just a coincidence.
Yeah, listen, I'm a big fan of Pogba, but you're right. He's had many chances now in different different positions in the number 8 or a holding midfielder. I best think his best position is a number 8 or a second number 10, if you know what I mean, in a box in a midfield. So he hasn't produced as good as he's capable of doing. I think we've seen a different Pogba for France. You know it, that sometimes happens at your club. You're not as good as you are for your international team, and it can change. You can all of a sudden it becomes very good for Manchester United. He's not as good for France. So listen, I think he can do better. I think he has to be very constructive in how he plays a move, if he is going to play a move out of Manchester United, because they're going to ask for a lot of money from him. There's only 2 or 3 clubs in the world that will take him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him.
I read your article on Sunday Independent, and you know it's a keen interest of mine. It was about basically the underage setup and the model that we're using now at national leagues. You started off by saying you'd spoken to Ruud Doctor. I presume you bumped into him at a game recently. What's your take? And you also mentioned as well about the German model. So can you elaborate on what you were saying about the German model, what they do that you like?
Yeah, I suppose first of all, it's good that we have a structure in place. There's no rights and wrongs about football. Everyone has their opinions on what they want to play and how they want to play. That's what makes it so good. That's what makes the coaches so good and how enjoyable it is for them. On the German model, I would say it's a case of it's the club and their physiques are similar to us when we were younger. So that's how I base the German model in terms of what I want from it and how I see Ireland in the future, for me, how I'd like it to be run. But listen, we have a Dutch guy in charge. We have a structure in place that looks like it's going to be beneficial in a few years' time. There's some good young players coming through, and let's see how we go. But for me, I prefer the
Stephen,
mentality.
are you seeing signs of...
We have the same mentality in terms of really strong, wanting to win. And I don't think they're the most technically gifted nation either, but they find a way of winning. And if I was going to tap into anything, I'd tap into the German model.
Are you seeing signs? You've mentioned Ruud Doctor's been in charge since 2013, I believe. Are you seeing signs now with the 15s, 17s, 19s been in place, 13s is getting introduced? Are you now starting to see signs, or is that some way still in the distance where we're going to see the fruits of that?
You know as well, on the 15s, 17s, 19s, and even to a case of 23s football, people react different to being in the arena when they get in the first team arena. Like Declan Rice looked really good last week, or 6 months ago, for West Ham 23s. It was clear he had a pathway into the first team the way he was playing. But I look at our model now and I see patterns of play. I see movements that's consistent throughout the levels of 15, 17, 19s, 21s for Ireland. I see same kind of movements. And I think once you get to the end of the 21 age group, you may have to be a little bit different. Like Noel King may have to manage his teams different to the under 15 manager they're just starting the journey and progressing in football. So I do see a pathway. I do see a clear indication that there is structure in place to get better.
You mentioned the player which struck a chord with me in the article was Richie Partridge. I don't even know if we've discussed it now. I played in Richie's team the whole way up from under 8s, 9s until he went to Liverpool. I went off to Wolves, and there was numerous of us left that team at Stella Maris to go and play in England. He was the great white hope. There's no doubt about it. He was literally the best thing since sliced bread. Every club wanted him. Liverpool made such a push for him. Now, we've taken an interest in younger players in the last few years. We've seen some of them develop, some of them go on different paths. I think the biggest thing from that one is it's not always... Look, Richie was very unlucky with injuries, it should be said as well. But it's not always that talent that's going to guarantee you having a career, as myself and you certainly understand.
Yeah, from the development point of view, I remember the Waterford Kennedy Cup team that put the fear into me about Richie Partridge playing for Dublin.
Did they?
Around the country, this boy was the next big thing, and it's not Richie Partridge's fault. Of course it's not. It's just someone gets a reputation. John O'Shea had it after the Kennedy Cup, for instance, who never had it before, and then all of a sudden he's 6'3", 6'4". He was 6 foot at the time, probably. So you get this reputation, and it can stand with you for a while, and you have to then try and develop into a first-team player, which is not easy. Once you go across, you have different environment, different mentality. When you get over there, people are not, they don't fear you, they don't really think you're any good, if I'm honest with you, as the Irish boys coming over, and they try and put fear in that way. But most of the Irish lads that do go over do come home, unfortunately, and it's a sad case, but that's what it is.
You mentioned the arena there, Stephen. How long does it take to become fully accustomed to that first team arena? Like, is it something that, say, we can have this argument about keeping lads at home for a bit longer, but if they have the talent, do you send them over a little bit earlier so they can get accustomed to that arena at an earlier age? Or is it a skill set adjusting to that high level that doesn't actually take as long as, say, the skill set itself, and maybe sending them over later, really as a result of this arena point that you make, is actually the way to go?
Yeah, well, I always say to young players, there's a pathway for everyone. It's just what you go along and how you do it. Players develop differently. Not everyone's better off going over early and getting technical ability into them and firing with loads of ideas how to play the game and coach them. They can be overcoached by the time they get to 20. So with some of the Irish players that do go over later, they're a bit raw to it. They're not really up to date on the technical side of it or the position side of it, but their ears are open. They're willing to learn. They're willing to listen to the coaches. Some other players that have been over 3 or 4 years, they've heard this over and over again, and they've switched off now. They don't want to learn anymore. So there's no right or wrong way about it. That's the truth, and players react different to different situations. So I went over at 17, and I couldn't get enough information on board. Everything they said, I listened. I took it all on board, and you try and develop a skill set from that and the coaches you have, because you haven't heard it for 4 or 5 years, and you have never heard it, so you're willing to learn, I suppose.
Well, that sounds like clearly, as the career has shown, that is the right sort of mentality to have when you go over there. Or maybe it's not even a mentality, maybe it's just your natural character at that point, and you have to be thinking that sort of way and be a sponge, as you say you were. And I guess when you look at the Conor Clifford article that you were mentioning there in the Irish Independent on Monday, when he kind of talks about the Louis Vuitton bags and the sort of ego that exists in a lot of these dressing rooms, like, I do wonder if that's like a completely different personality that can also exist, that it's not so much a sponge, it's pure confidence, it's pure flair. Like, is there two different kind of divergent paths here, where you're either a sponge where you learn everything, or you're a peacock and you kind of take to it so well?
Look, I think it's very different when you go over. We've just got a quote up here for Conor Clifford. He's come out and he's been very honest in some of his interviews lately. You go to the bank and you see a couple of grand in there, and all of a sudden you're excited, you're young, and you're not used to having that money. You can get carried away. You have to understand it's natural for kids to do that. I totally agree with that. To go into London or Manchester or wherever, they may buy a fancy pair of trainers, a belt, maybe a watch or whatever it is. And it's basically what he's getting at. It's basically a Louis Vuitton type environment. And what I think, and I don't know whether Stephen agrees with, it takes unbelievable confidence in yourself not to be drawn into that, not to feel like you have to have a Louis Vuitton wash bag, you have to have the latest pair of runners or trainers or watch or whatever it is. That takes a real inner confidence.
It really is, in terms of Louis Vuitton, the trainers you wear, the tracksuits you have as a young lad, and what you want to wear. And for me, I never got sucked into it, and it's looking the part, but it's not being the part. It's not playing the part on a Monday morning when you come in looking the business and you've got a new pair of trainers, and it's not about that. It's about coming in and training well, and even then, when you don't have a good training day, it's how you react to situations after that as well. And some people will then go and be more big time and say how good they are when they've had a bad session. So it's all different sides to it and the different tests. And listen, no one's perfect. We all have our flaws. I remember I used to bet quite a lot when I was younger, and then the first team players got me into betting, and it sucked me in a little bit. But then after a while, you think, okay, what's going on here? What am I doing? And you realise who's bad for you and who's good for you. So you try and hang around with the right people.
Before we let you go, I've got to get your thoughts on the Ryder Cup. I know for a fact you'll be excited about this weekend.
To allow myself to be conscious free tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock when I'm watching the build-up on Sky, and I imagine you're getting sucked into it too.
I can't wait. Have you booked a couple of days off just to chill on the sofa? Will you be allowed, Mrs. Hunt, allow you to do that?
I got to get to the gym early in the morning or something, so I get myself out of the Ryder Cup scene so I can get a watch.
Listen, thanks for joining us. I'll catch up with you soon. See you, pal. He's made some very good points about you've probably heard me say this before. One cap doesn't fit all. the different pathways for these players, different routes, different A roads, motorways. Some of them are on a motorway. You know, Declan Rice is on the M1. He's flying, whereas different players react in different ways. Like, for instance, with Stephen would have been a late developer physically, would have to take a little bit more time, worked hard at it. I was bigger as a young lad. The sort of physical side of thing wasn't much of an issue for me. But then the era that we're in now, it's not a problem for smaller players. Look at Phil Foden did a night for Manchester City. Would he have got a crack at the whip 15, 20 years ago? Possibly not.
The thing, though, is that some of the things that Stephen was talking about there can form part of a template. That there is a one-size-fits-all approach to elements of how you approach it, like the idea that your mentality should be focus on what you're doing on the training ground, give some money to your parents or whoever's looking after you, and put that money away. Like, if it's hard, it's almost like counterproductive that in Ireland we would have a sort of 5-step guide on how to make it to England, because ultimately there's plenty of people in Ireland who are very disappointed that a lot of those players are going to England. But there is certainly a lot of tips, like even just listening to some of the things that Stephen Hunt said there, very simple things that will help you survive a little bit longer in the game over in the UK. Like, it's quite a strange one.
They're core values, though, aren't they? They're kind of...
But maybe some people just don't have those core values.
They don't, and they need the right people around them, whether that's a family member. But you've got to also remember, the vast majority of these kids that are going over, the families, it's just alien for them to be able to comprehend what goes on day to day. They need, ideal world, they need somebody that's been through it. Now, Stephen's been through it. I've been through it. You need somebody to be able to bounce off that's had these experiences, that you get lured into buying the Louis Vuitton wash bag, the flash watch, but then where's your money gone?
Yeah, the thing is, though, the alternative of this is, say if you did listen to all the footballers talking about their careers in the game, there's also a heavy amount of people who are like, it was good while it was there, and then it's over like that in a flash. I wish I enjoyed my career a little bit more. So, you know, if you're a parent of a young fella who's flying over in England through the academy system, it's like, you got a lot of money. You know, you may as well enjoy these days. You're on the way to becoming a professional footballer. There's an element there as well where there's ex-footballers who say, I wish I enjoyed being a footballer a little bit more.
I think there's too many on the other side of the fence. I think there's too many that have enjoyed it too much.
Yeah, there probably is.
Too much.
You were saying before we came on air that the new Richie Partridge is Troy Parrott.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, does everybody have to be named after a bird to actually succeed in the UK? And I'm wondering, what sort of bird is a bazunu? Because it seems like Gavin Bazunu is going to be the next Partridge and Parrott.
Gavin Bazunu, he's on a fast track as well. Well, he is at the moment. He's had a lot of profile, obviously playing at Rovers, getting to City, but he's definitely one where he'd be looking at. What have you got for me? You're looking quite menacing.
No, I'm not looking menacing. What's the stupidest thing you ever did with your money?
Stupidest thing I ever did? I think I've been quite honest about it in the past. I got sucked into the lifestyle of the drinking culture, which was just part and parcel of football back in the 90s, late 90s when I went over in 96. And I was always a bit like you, actually. I was always a bit old before my time. You're 24 going on 44. And I was a little bit the same. It's not insulting, it's a compliment in there somewhere. Yeah. So I was a little bit like that. I wanted to bounce off the older players. I liked the lifestyle. And not so much club, but just the team spirit, crack that you used to have together, going to pubs, playing pool. Like Hunty's right, there was a big betting kind of angle in sport in those days. I wasn't particularly into that. But like, you used to be out 3-4 nights a week. Which if you could comprehend, that was like a top championship team at the time. Like, we're going to talk about Derby County a little bit. I just can't see Mason Mount and Harry Wilson going out to Wetherspoons on a Tuesday afternoon.
Is that where you used to go?
No, I didn't go to O'Neill's.
O'Neill's, right.
There's a couple of Irish bars in Wolverhampton we used to go to quite a lot, but like, they were rife. It was all-day sessions. It was Saturday
fans must have loved it.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. I can't really remember them.
And would any of the... Well, you just said they wouldn't... Like, I would assume that nowadays if a fan saw one of the players...
It's a different era, isn't it? Yeah. Photograph bang, and you can't do it, obviously. So it's a different era, thankfully, for me. But
you didn't do it the day before a game, did you?
No, not the day before a game. 2 nights was the cap off. Thursday night was Greyhounds. Used to go to the dogs, and then...
Great night
sensible
out.
Night. Yeah, but it was low-key on the alcohol front, so it wasn't as good as the Tuesday night with a Wednesday off. I want to go back to Man United. We didn't really finish up on that. So I was saying, did I say I'd get rid of both of them?
Yes, you just said that before we re-established Stephen Hunter.
So I would get rid of both of them, because when you look at Manchester United, you look at down through the years, Sir Alex Ferguson has had rife with certain players. He's had real bust-ups. He's always been the one in control. At the moment, it doesn't look like Mourinho's in control. Ultimately, the football club is bigger than those two on screen, Mourinho and Pogba. I've already said my piece on Pogba that I think he flatters to deceive too often for me. He's got all the components to kick on and probably win a Ballon d'Or. Can't see it. Just can't see it. He may well prove me wrong if it all comes together and he matures a little bit. But with Mourinho, I think this sideshow and this circus is taken away from what's important, what's happening on Saturday, 3 o'clock on the pitch, although it's rarely Saturday, 3 o'clock. It was last week when I was there at Old Trafford to watch Wolves play them. And this is Manchester United now. Wolves, who aren't your typical team that just got promoted. We've spoken a lot about them. They're a dangerous outfit. Could have easily nicked the game. Really could have easily nicked the game with Traore coming on the last 15-20 minutes, causing a few problems on the counter-attack. But just within that game, like, plan B is Fellaini was like a yo-yo, starting in front of the back four against Watford. I can accept that because they played direct to Troy Deeney, screened that, okay. Against Wolves, they're not lumping the ball forward. You need mobile players. You need mobile midfielders to be able to stop that type of play that Wolves are doing. Flip side, they're trying to get back in the game. He puts them up into an advanced area, just playing off Lukaku. And it's direct football. Just playing up to Lukaku or Fellaini, second balls, knockdowns. This is Manchester United, Eoin. Now, to a degree, I can accept it's a means to an end. The result is the be-all and end-all, and I'm a big one for that. Do what you need to do. But he's been in charge that long with this set of players. There should be more than that. Yeah. Really should. So you're saying that Jose Mourinho went into the Wolves game not knowing how Wolves were going to set up, and that the Fellaini positioning would suggest that. Well, that's a huge oversight, really, isn't it? Matic was suspended, so he is the one that you would put in there, mobility, strength, everything, their best holding midfielder without a shadow of a doubt. But when you put Fellaini in there, it's not his game, isn't it? Those little 5-10 yard darts when Wolves are on the ball with Moutinho and Neves playing those little through balls into Jota, who was out of this world. Yeah. Helder Costa, who fits in Spurs. They were lively. So they start wide, come in narrow into those areas where Fellaini was. And look, I'm not saying Fellaini had a bad game. He didn't actually have a bad game, and I'm not his biggest fan. But you look at it and you think, this should be better. This should be set up in a better way to go and get a result. So when I look at it, there's a few options out there, isn't there? Zidane was in London yesterday. He's available. When I look at him and what he did at Real Madrid, I think if you just put him in charge of Manchester United right now, even if it was till the end of the season, although I'm not quite sure he would agree to that type of length of contract. What did he do at Real Madrid? He massaged egos. He told them how good they were. He didn't cause controversy. Didn't overmanage. Kept things simple. You don't need to. Take tactics out of the equation. Pick the 11 best players. Make the other ones happy. However you do that, tell them they're brilliant. They'll guarantee them game time in the cup, or your chance will come in 2-3 weeks. Stay with me. He instantly has that respect. They would play for him. At the moment, it's just one thing after another at Manchester United. The thing is, bringing in someone like Zidane kind of needs to happen in January at the latest. Like, if the season deteriorates in the way it's going, and I don't mean deteriorating results-wise, I mean in terms of relationships, in terms of confidence, it could become too late. Like, can he repair someone like Alexis Sanchez's career next season if he keeps dwindling in the way he's dwindling? He might not have Paul Pogba to work with if Jose Mourinho stays for the full season. He might be gone in January. All of a sudden, like you talk about Real Madrid, Manchester United and that job that Zidane would then be walking into is a million miles away from the Ronaldo-led Real Madrid team that he walked into. So there's a danger there that Manchester United get them into a situation where they can't just copy that template and get themselves into a situation where they're challenging perhaps for the Premier League, because they're miles off the top of the Premier League right now. But the template won't be the same as Real Madrid, because it has to be different, because he will have to bring different tactics to the equation, because they haven't got the Ronaldo, the Bale, the Isco, whoever it is, the absolute magicians and world-class talent. Can Sanchez be that person again? He looks gone to me at the moment. Like, I have to be honest, he looks gone. And the more he's trying, because at times, in my opinion, he hasn't been trying, the more he tries, it looks like the worse he's getting. Like, he's forcing balls. He's coming in from the left-hand side and he's playing difficult balls. Like, obviously on a completely different level. Whenever I was struggling with my game, and he is clearly struggling with his, you've got to keep things simple. You've got to build that confidence up. How do you build it up? Performances, gradually. His position, a goal. Another way you build it up, your manager, arm around the shoulder, teammates getting around you. I don't see any of that happening. No. Coming off on Saturday, Mourinho didn't even embrace him as he was coming off. Just literally didn't even glare, just bang on the pitch, walks behind him, nothing happening.
Just making things worse.
Yeah.
Just on that Jose thing, and why I kind of felt a little bit sorry for Pogba before Sunday night, was just kind of the idea that Jose Mourinho and their relationship seemed to deteriorate on the basis of things that weren't about football. It was, I think, the whole explosion this week over the Instagram story is definitely resultant of a number of different things of that ilk. It is the off the pitch stuff that Jose Mourinho really dislikes. And to be honest with you, if I'm Paul Pogba, I'm like, screw you, Jose. This is a really important part of who I am. I am a megastar in my own right. Like, granted, this is
modern-day management, Don. This is...
Exactly.
You have to adapt. So the ones that don't adapt, they go backwards. The master of it was Sir Alex Ferguson. He didn't have to deal with this side of it, social media, FIFA, commercially he did, actually. That's wrong. But you have to evolve constantly. Mourinho's doing the same things now as he was doing 10 years ago. They're a different set of players with different morals on the game.
What I would say, the very basics of not undermining your manager still exists. And for Paul Pogba to go out on Sunday night, whenever those quotes emerged, and to say we should be attack.
Oh, he's been a disgrace.
Like that quote for me is the thing that's turned my opinion against Paul Pogba a little bit.
Before that, you were with him.
I was with Paul. Okay. Like I genuinely, as I said, I'm generally on the player side these days, because ultimately it's up to the manager to adapt to the players. It's always been about adapting to the best players you have at your disposal. You pick your formation based on the best players you have at your disposal. You pick your man management style based on the way your players react.
You don't manage them all the same.
Exactly. I had no sympathy really for Jose Mourinho in terms of the way that Paul Pogba was sort of blowing back with him, telling him to kind of calm it down maybe on the social media side. We don't know the full details of that just yet. But if you're getting tactical instructions off your players in the public domain, it's like, screw you. I mean, like, calm down a little bit. Seriously, calm down a little bit, Paul. You gotta get in line to a certain extent.
He ain't getting in line. I think it's not going to end well, this, is it? Let's be honest. For who, I don't know. The team who undone them the other night, undid them, was Derby County.
I'd say you were
very impressed by them.
Ecstatic with that. Good championship team that you've been speaking about for a while. Yeah,
I just like the way they've gone about things. So, to paint the picture, I think we've got Shay Given. Have we got Shay ready with the video? Yeah, well, let's hear from Shay Given, just painting a picture about Derby County, and then we'll take it up after.
Have you worked on in general? You've mentioned there about maybe the start that you've had that maybe was better than even though you've lost games, you're actually playing better than the results suggested. But what have you worked on since you've gone in there pre-season and then into the start of the season? What specifically have you worked on team-wise?
We've changed the way we play. I mean, last year Derby were quite direct. I don't know if you see much of Derby last year, and you know, speaking to the players, of course, and Derby last year were quite direct in the sense of Gary Rowett and stuff. And I'm not having a go at people who play quite direct. I'm just saying that's how they played last year. And we've come in and we've tried to change that. We're trying to play it from the back, play through the different lines and stuff. And we've got a few talented players. You've probably seen last night with Mason Mount and Harry Wilson. You know, with a fantastic free kick last night. But you know, players in positions where they can drop in between defence and midfield and pick up them gaps and spaces where it's difficult for people to pick them up and stuff. And you know, we showed the video even yesterday before we played Man United how well we played against Brentford. You know, in them different situations, and we felt, you know, Manchester United. Even when we watched the Wolves game, we watched clips of them and what have you, and we felt there was areas that we could exploit against Manchester United. And I think we did that last night. And you know, I think the big thing as well is some people get away from how we play good, you know, balls from the back and through the thing. But I think when we lose the ball, we've got a real plan of how to get the ball back as quickly as possible. We close gaps. We harass people. You know, every single player last night, and not just last night, but in the whole season so far, have worked ever so hard to regain possession and not let the opposition, you know, settle on the ball. And I think that's massive.
Yeah, it was nice to see Shay the other night on the pitch, and he's not just a goalkeeping coach. And I don't mean just a goalkeeper, because that's an important role in itself. But he's very much involved. Morris, Chris, the other coach. So the way they have changed the style has been impressive. So with that, you're going to get teething problems, and I think they won the first game of the season against Reading a little bit, fortunately, in my opinion, and you could see where they were falling short, stuck to the plan. And what he's done is, and Shay alluded to it, they were quite direct last year, they lacked energy, they lacked legs in midfield, they needed to inject that big time, and they've done it. So they've brought in Mason Mount, who looks the real deal. smashed it with Vitesse Arnhem last year. Got player of the year for them. He had 14 goals. He's only quite slight, still only 19. Energy, aggression, passing, got the lot, eye for a goal, set pieces, free kicks. He's brought on Harry Wilson from Liverpool on loan, Welsh international. Free kick the other night will obviously get him the headlines, but his overall performances. Go back a few days ago as well. They smashed Brentford 3-1 after going a goal down. And Brentford, if you've listened to anybody who really digs into the Championship in the last few weeks since the start of the season, really, barring Leeds, everybody's been saying Brentford the best team, Brentford a super team. Good model they have at the club. So this has been coming. I think Shay has mentioned that this performance they feel has been coming. They've been decent, but the way that they've changed the style, it's just good to watch. They're playing with real energy, and they will be picked off. Will they last the distance? Who knows in the Championship? Will Mount and Harry Wilson be able to string 40, 50 games together at that intensity? Not sure, don't know. They probably don't know, but I'm sure they're doing everything they can to manage that in between games. But it's just exciting to see them, and especially going to a place like that. 19 years of age, going and beating Manchester United at Old Trafford.
What was the biggest legend that kind of Wilson reminded you of with that free kick on Tuesday night? Is it Roberto Carlos? Is it Ronaldo?
Roberto Carlos strike and the Ronaldo technique has probably got these kids, when they were kids, watching Ronaldo starting to do this technique, doing it in the playground, doing it at school, doing it at training whenever they were playing the local teams. And Shay mentioned that he does practice these. They set up the wall, and it's a different type of technique we're seeing. Like, it's unstoppable. Like, if he does it again next week, which I'm sure he will, they'll have some job getting him off set pieces now. It could land 50 yards into the stand. It's that type of technique where, but what a goal it was. It was a phenomenal strike, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was absolutely outrageous. Like, I think you mentioned the sort of pit that the Championship is, that you could get promoted, you could push promotion one season and get relegated the next year very, very easily, or vice versa.
Reading being a prime example, playoff finalists 15, 16 months ago, survived on the last day.
Struggling.
Against Cardiff,
So for Frank Lampard to actually go into this job, I think that took balls for Frank Lampard to do it. Because if I'm a manager and I want to go into any division in world football, Championship, probably the last one I want to go into, because your reputation's at stake with the first. Like, because football is such a knee-jerk environment at this point, where if you've got one black mark against your name, it's very, very hard to recover. Like, Jose Mourinho is going to struggle after Manchester United, for example. Frank Lampard, if he struggles with this Derby County team, it's a little bit too early in the season to say this is a success just yet. But if he struggles, straight away you're like, Frank Lampard, mediocre straight away. He's already moved way down the ladder. Like, whereas with, I don't know, maybe with someone like Steven Gerrard,
the route he went,
like it's a safer move going.
I said that from day dot, that him going there was a safer move. Bigger club, league, not as intense. If he shows us what he's going to do as a manager, Steven Gerrard, and he can bridge the gap on Celtic. Now, Celtic are having their own issues, which is playing right into Steven Gerrard's hands, and the league has become a bit more competitive with Hearts, Aberdeen being a little bit better again. But you're right, like with Lampard, it's a brave move. He clearly felt it was right. The infrastructure at the football club is very, very good. But even taking the style of play and what he's done and the energy he's brought to it, the way they're trying to play, the plan that they're trying to instill in the players, the belief, his man management, like, you can see the relationship that he has with the players. It's like going back to Jose at Chelsea when he first went on the pitch, hugging, embracing each other. There seems to have that. Obviously there's a respect level between him and the players, but the embracing, the camaraderie that's there, it's evident. And when he's being interviewed, I just love his honesty.
Yeah.
I think he's coming across so well. I really do. So well. I think his time in media will probably have helped him just to learning that side of it, what the media's angle is towards games, towards managers, what they might say, because that was a surprise to me when I went into that, the way they look at it and pick holes in it. I think he will have benefited from that, but I just think he's been refreshing.
If you're a young player in this Derby County team, trying to mould yourself into the world of football, you're going to have setbacks. So you look at any manager in English football right now and you say to yourself, who is the guy that's going to protect me the most? Frank Lampard's right up there. Go right the way back to the start of Frank Lampard's career and the way he was protected by Harry Redknapp. We've all seen that YouTube clip of him being grilled by West Ham fans over this crap young kid who shouldn't be playing for West Ham. And of course, it is Frank Lampard. And Harry Redknapp defends him to the hilt. He always says that he knew that he was going to be great, but there is an element of protectionism about it that is like, this is my player, you don't say anything about this guy while he's on my team. And I'm sure Frank Lampard has learned loads about that. It's not just from Jose Mourinho and the way he cared for his players, it's also all the way back to Harry, and he gets a tough enough time these days because maybe football's moved in a direction beyond him, just like it has with Jose to a certain extent. But there are certain values that Frank Lampard has learned in football from not even a deliberate path that he's taken, but just from the way his career turned out, that he's got little bits of the good old English grit and little bits of the continental sort of romance that you might have in football. Exactly. Well. And I think he's got a great cocktail on his CV that comes from all these different sort of cultures, and he has everything now to really get off to a really good start in his career.
So one of Frank Lampard's old clubs have done quite well in the last.
It's that West Ham United.
That's Keith. West Ham United on, who I've had a little bit of stick about from a friend of mine who said I made his day even worse when I was on here a couple of weeks ago, saying don't know where they're going. You said no, I think they'll be good. They'll shoot up that league.
Rocket up the
Rocket,
league, I think was
4 points from 6.
4 points from 6.
Without Arnautovic at the weekend.
Without Arnautovic. Stopped to 100% start to the season for Chelsea. But the big one last night, 8-0 against Macclesfield. They are the real deal.
I'm not having that as part of the equation.
Come on. Just
go on. I'll
give
you
more. You got to have three to actually talk about this as a hat trick of success. Come on, the Chelsea. It's not about the win the previous week. It's about the Chelsea results at the weekend, where they possibly could have won the game without Arnautovic.
Yeah. And, as soon as Arnautovic is out of the team, I'm thinking no chance, because Antonio had two. I thought they weren't great chances. One of them was a good chance. One of them on his left foot. You're never going to fancy him with.
The one on his right, but he had no time to think about it.
Exactly. They weren't clear cut, and he's not a natural goal scorer. He's a roamer. He's a maverick, isn't he? He conjures things up out of nothing. I mean, it's more often than not going on 40, 50 yard mazes to get his team up the pitch. So he's not a striker. So can't really lay the blame at his feet. But it was impressive against the Chelsea side with a fatigued Eden Hazard not going to PAOK Salonika. Came back. And he was sharp. Probably not as sharp as he was last night, though.
No, oh my God! Is that goal of the season already?
I think that's a bit too heavy of praise. I don't think it's goal of the season. Is it better than Harry Wilson's?
No, I guess I'm kind
of very different goals. Obviously, that's like the goal last night was just. I was sat on myself and I was thinking, why aren't you doing this more often? Because you're so capable. For the last 2-3 years. You have that little burst of 6-8 games. You're unbelievable. You're unplayable. They praise you on every media outlet in the world, and then you just go into a little bit of hibernation. Where he's capable, and Modric has proved it now, World Player of the Year, that it's up for grabs now. The Messi, Ronaldo domination is probably over. Go and gate crash it. Go and be the PFA Player of the Year. Go and smash it. Do the same for Belgium on an international front, which, to be fair, he did during the World Cup. I thought he was very good. But he's just there. He's so good to watch, isn't he?
Well, the thing is, I think it was Eden O'Hara writing in the paper at the weekend saying that ultimately Sarri can turn Eden Hazard into this absolute beast of a continental talent, top talent in the entire continent by the end of the season. But that will ultimately lead to him leaving the club. Like, there's no other way to look at it. He will 100% leave if Sarri turns him into this machine. So maybe, like, he didn't say this in the piece, this is just my take on it. Maybe there's a little bit more of control put out in Eden Hazard. It's like, oh, sorry, you're going to miss those 5 or 6 games that are going to take you above the 40 window. And, maybe they're not going to offer as much money as we'd like to sell you for. Just one more year, and then suddenly they win the Champions League next year.
Well, I can understand the angle of that. Going back to the 40 goals and the 30 goals, or whatever he's going to get. Like against West Ham last Sunday. I know he was being unselfish, laying a couple of balls off. He's got to be ruthless. That's what he's got to need to add to his game to gate crash that 30 goal plus party that Salah did last year. Go and be ruthless. Don't worry about passing to Giroud or Morata, especially Morata at the moment. He can't hit a barn door. So be ruthless.
That's why he was passing to him, though.
I know he was. He was doing the right thing in his eyes. Right thing, 3 points.
Yeah. They were 2 stupid passes, in fairness. Stupid.
He's the only one in that squad, and I like what they're doing. I like Sarri. He's the only one capable. If he has an unbelievable season, they can sustain a Premier League title challenge with Man City and Liverpool. If he doesn't keep this form up for the whole season, I just don't see it.
I think we're writing off Chelsea's title challenge a little bit too soon, because West Ham, of course, are they're up and running. But I do think there was elements, maybe just it's hard to put your finger on it, what exactly went wrong for Chelsea last night, I think, or at the weekend. And I think it was more down to the idea of West Ham really just having everything down to a T. Of course, one of the best young midfielders in the entire world right now, Declan Rice, sitting in front of that defence.
We're having a Rice free zone.
We had to mention him once this week. That I think we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit with the Chelsea malaise or whatever, that their title challenge, in the eyes of a lot of people, I think, sort of ended on Sunday. I would say let us see them lose the game before we actually said that's the case.
Look, last night, completely different teams, obviously 5-6 minimum changes throughout it, but there's one aspect of the team I don't like, and it's Jorginho and Kante in the positions they're playing.
You don't like Kante in his free role moving forward now?
Because you're taking so much away from his natural game. And I can understand why Sarri's doing it, because Jorginho has been obviously instrumental in his passing stats off the roof, starting that first phase of play. He's better at that than Kante. So I get it. But once they are in comfortable possession, and they are penning teams in a lot because they're that dominant, they're that good on the ball, they have a licence now, they're playing a high line, the back four are right up with them. But when Kante's getting the ball in tight areas back to play, it's not his game.
Who is it,
he's
Pedro?
Still competent, but he's not going to be on the half turn, sliding little through balls, cess fabric like the ball he played to Morata in the first half last night was just outrageous. How he hasn't been brought on more in the Premier League when they have teams penned in, I don't know, because he's the one. Barkley's shown signs, he's trimmed down, he's lost literally half his body weight. So whatever he was doing before, he needs to have a good look in the mirror. But Jorginho's key. Kante just doesn't suit that position for me. Against the bigger teams, yeah, maybe. But against 3/4 of the league, I think you're just taking so much away from his game. I also think you can run off Jorginho in a defensive way. So any teams that, for instance, Liverpool this week, when they're going to play their strongest starting 11, that'll be more of a test. It'll be interesting to see who gets on with that.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting. Like, is that not like a bit of a reaction to Sunday as well? Like before Sunday, it seemed that, certainly in the press, everything was like, Kante's new position is amazing. This is the next step.
I've been saying that for a few weeks on. I don't like him there.
No,
I don't like him there. Like, he's going to look so good.
I think he got shown up a little bit on Sunday. And that was one element of Chelsea's performance that I was worried about. But I think before that, I think we were all kind of loving the new Kante. The one thing, though, the thing that made me worried about him on Sunday was that ball where he played a 1-2 with, I can't remember who, but it goes out to the left wing and Kante's the man in the middle and the ball goes in. And if he's Olivier Giroud, he heads it to the back of the net. And it's just like, he's never going to be that person who gets himself into the box.
But look,
that has to be part of that position, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he has to start because he's that good. But I don't know, the balance just isn't quite right for me. That's
close though.
Yeah, look, they're very good, and what he's done in a short space of time, coming in late, signings has been literally at a premium. They kept hold of Hazard, which was obviously huge. Jorginho being the main signing, but it's much of what he had last year squad-wise. So he's done a really good job. Hats off to Sarri. Loved his Napoli side. So I'm not taking away from that in any way. I'm picking holes in the balance of the team and the preference I would have and where Kante in particular is playing.
It's a bit of breaking news this afternoon. Cristiano Ronaldo is going to be available for both Juventus games against Manchester United in the Champions League. So he's handed a one-match ban for the red card against Valencia. So he's going to be back for that game.
So powers that be have overturned Ronaldo being able to play.
It certainly seems that way. It's
handy,
great,
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's handy.
I would say Manchester United fans are just as happy. Like
handy for the hierarchy that Ronaldo's been able to shine.
They're Cristiano Ronaldo fans. They're one player fans. They're going to be happy.
They're not Juve fans, are they? Or Real Madrid fans. They're Ronaldo fans.
They're Ronaldo fans. Who could blame them?
I do want to mention one player who I've worked with. Connor Coventry is his name. He played last night for your boys, West Ham.
Yeah, my boys.
On a half time. He was with us in the 17s a couple of years ago. He's been involved with the under 19s this year. Tom Mowen for Ireland. English-born lad. His mother, born and bred in Dublin. I met them on a few of the trips coming home from the away games we would have had with the 17s. Always had a chance of making it. Now, nice to see him getting involved. Apparently, he's been doing very well for the 23s. He's a box-to-box type midfielder. Very, very intelligent. Give him information once on board, just does it. Whereas other players, you have to revisit, keep playing away with them. Temperament, outstanding. Very, very good prospect. So I was delighted to see him get involved last night.
One to keep an eye on.
Yeah, one to keep an eye on. Still only 18, 19. I'm not entirely sure if he's 19 yet. But great lad, nice family. So hopefully he can he can get more game time between now and this season. I may well go on loan in January, maybe if there's a few people watching there last night.
Surname isn't named after a bird, though, is my only qualm with him.
I know. Is he going to struggle?
He's going to struggle.
There's a picture of him there, Conor Coventry. So delighted for him. I got a lot of time from a couple of others. Robbie Brady playing 23s the other day, so that's good. Hopefully he can get up to speed. Whether the games in October will come too soon, not quite sure. He's played very, very little since his bad injury. Darren Murphy notched for Forest. Alan Judge, game time again, been in a little bit of a premium. He's been frustrated with that at Brentford, but they have been playing very well. He's got a really good free kick at the Emirates, so that might let him gate crash the starting 11 at Brentford maybe over the weekend.
Judge.
Alan Judge.
Yeah, she scored last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the thing with Robbie Brady is, like obviously it's far too soon to risk him. If he's not going to be back playing first team, which certainly seems that's going to be the case, then you're not going to throw him in. Surely Sean Dyche will be raging. But even from Martin O'Neill's perspective, it's almost a situation where we're like, let's just wait until let's just ride off the Nations League. It's been a bit of a disaster. Let's just go into the qualifications next year and
off the Nations League.
Right, we just Come
on, Owen. Come on. I certainly won't be saying that in the build-up to the games next month.
I've been a big advocate for the Nations League.
So have I. It's been good.
Highly important.
So I'm not going to write it off. But they're missing a few injuries. Obviously, Johnny Walters, bad news about him this week. I heard Paul Hurst, as a manager at Ipswich, talking after the game. Didn't realise the extent of the injury. And he had said basically Johnny had come to him on the Friday, wanted to be involved in the game, didn't know the extent of it, but it's not looking good for poor old Johnny Walters. And I did say it was massive that he stayed on with us to play. Darryl Murphy had obviously retired. Shane Long was injured last month, so look, he played last month, wasn't up to speed at all. In the game we struggled against Wales, but yeah, very sad to see him getting a naughty Achilles injury. I don't think he's going to require surgery. He went to see the same specialist as I went to see when I was struggling with my Achilles latter parts of my career. James Calder is a very good Achilles specialist, ankle specialist in London. So hopefully he'll be okay and he'll get on the path to recovery fairly soon. Yeah,
fingers crossed. It is just so late in the career to be getting an injury like that, even little knocks at that stage are kind of become a lot more serious than they are. So an injury like that, it's worrying news, all right, for all of us.
We can hopefully lure him into the media world.
Well, do you think so? Well, what if he wants the Johnny Walters show? Can there be only one? Can there be only one former professional footballer with a name?
Only one Johnny Walters show.
Well, like it may come to a situation where we're off the ball to decide either the Keith Andrews show or the Johnny Walters show.
We are in a very competitive environment.
We certainly are,
and I'm sure there's going to be a few people popping up out of woodwork. What will be, my friend. So this may well be the last Keith Andrews show. If Johnny Walters wants his own show, get in touch. And it might be available on Thursdays from about 12:30 till 1:30. Owen, thanks for your time. Yet again, always an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, up West Ham.
Up West Ham, if they got this week. I don't even know, see? False fan. All right, that's all we got time for. As per usual, you can download it on the usual platforms. We will be back next Thursday, unless Owen is flying somewhere exotic.